I know what you're saying. You're like, whoa, Robert, this movie's been out for like a week and a half now. No, it hasn't been out for a week yet. Good. It's just been out for like 6 days. And like, why do we care about your opinion right now? First of all, fair enough. Second of all, I apologize. I have finals weeks coming up, so I'm like stressing about that. And then I've had some health problems the past few days, so I haven't been able to film. But I watched this movie on Wednesday, the 2 days before it came out. And man, I really liked it. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was released in 2022. It was written by Michael Waldron and directed by Sam Raimi. Now, no spoilers. There's no spoilers here. I will not be spoiling anything. I hope. That's my plan. That's my plan, is to not spoil anything. That's the thought process. Now, I do want to say before we get started that I've read a lot of reviews about this movie, right? This movie's been out for a few days now. Normally I don't have the luxury of reading other people's reviews before I review things. But this particular case I did. And I'm kind of sad by them, because I really fucking enjoyed this movie. Like, I really genuinely did. This is easily my favorite Phase 4 project so far. Like, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, because No Way Home was an excellent movie theater experience. It's not as good as this movie, though. This movie is better, in my opinion. This movie is made better, and it is like, it sets everything apart from Phase 4. But it does have its problems, and I will probably be focusing on those more so than things that I liked. But just know that I really genuinely enjoyed watching this film, and I had a really good time. I'm not going to give you the gist of this film, because there's spoilers in it, and I'm not going to try to do that for you. I'm going to start talking about the directing, I think, first, because I think it's just brilliant. I think Sam Raimi owns this movie. I hope he goes on to do more with Marvel. Of course, his Spider-Man movies were excellent, but this is not a Spider-Man movie. Like, this is not even close to reminiscing of his Spider-Man days. It's much more reminiscent of his horror film movies, you know? And that's kind of what I was hoping, is that it's going to kind of lean into the horror elements a little bit. And honestly, I didn't think they were going to, because Marvel. Thank God they let him, because it's excellent. It's so cool. There's parts where, like, there wasn't really jump scares, but, like, there were parts where I was, like, genuinely like, oh, that's creepy. Ugh. Like, didn't like that. And that's really, really good, if you can do that in a superhero film. That was awesome. You can tell it's Sam Raimi everywhere. I mean, there's just sprinkles of Sam Raimi in every shot. The camera movements. One of my favorite TikTok creators mentioned this, and I forget the TikTok account's name. So I apologize. I think it's like Movies and Stuff 14 or something like that. But he mentioned camera movements, and I didn't even recognize this until I listened to his review, where he was like, the camera movements of the thing were phenomenal. And I was like, oh yeah, true. Maybe it wasn't Movies and 14. Maybe it was someone else. I don't know. Anyway, the camera movements are excellent in this movie. Like, in every other MCU project, the camera is so stagnant. It doesn't move. This one, it goes woo, 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 and it's really cool. It provides a fun experience in terms of viewing, instead of just like you're watching an MCU film. It feels like you're in the film, and that's really, really cool. I appreciated that quite a lot from Raimi. The main issue with the film is its script. There's a couple pacing issues that are, unfortunately, extremely felt. Like, the first, I'd say, half an hour of this film is mainly exposition. And then, like, the next 15 minutes are still exposition, but less exposition. And then the story can begin. And the ending's a little iffy. The post-credit scenes were actually pretty okay. The first post-credit scene was just fine. The second one was really great. But the ending of the actual film kind of left me wanting a little bit more, which, of course, you do want from an MCU film, but you don't want from a regular film. And with a movie like this, I did not think of it as an MCU film at all, which is great. But some of the dialogue is questionable. It's a little weird and chunky. But my main issue in terms of script is the pacing. They introduce America Chavez, like, pretty much immediately, and the action starts immediately. It's fast-paced, it's awesome. And then it stops. Like, the movie just stops, and then it just, like, drags for, like, 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know. I understand the multiverse, at least to my knowledge. And they don't do a whole lot to kind of change your perception or your knowledge of it, which I kind of didn't like, but also did like. I was like, okay, it's easier to view, there's less exposition needed, but also it's less cool than I was kind of hoping. But then you have other multiverse problems like Loki and Spider-Man, all of which, kind of tackle the multiverse in very different ways. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I assume Thor is going to be tackling it as well. I don't know. I wonder how long we're going to keep this up, because I'm already kind of annoyed by it. I'm assuming this is all leading up to Secret Wars, but I don't know. That's just kind of the big thing everyone's talking about. And I'm like, I guess, yeah, it makes sense that we could eventually get there, but fucking when? Like, when are we going to get there? I don't know. Ugh. No spoilers, but the cameos in this film are excellent. I hope some of them are, like, genuine and, like, are going to continue to make things happen in the MCU, because some of them were absolutely brilliant. There's one moment, you know what moment I'm talking about. I stood up, I was cheering, it was excellent, I had a great time with that. And I don't know, I liked how the cameos were short. In Spider-Man, the cameos were long, and they were the entire movie, which I liked. I liked that in that movie. It would not have worked in this movie. Like, you can't tell me that this particular character could have helped. Well, I guess they could have helped. It might have been better. But it wasn't... they weren't essential to the plot, and that's kind of the thing was that I liked about it. Some people are complaining about it, like, oh, I wish they were integral to the story instead of just being there. I'm like, you knew it was going to happen. You knew this was going to happen. Why weren't you expecting that? And it was very exciting for me. I was like, oh, yes, this person's here. Awesome. And then we're moving on, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool. It's violent. This movie's very violent in a way I did not expect the MCU to go. So I'm very happy about that as well. And overall, the experience of watching this film is just really awesome. I had a great, great time watching this movie. It's so much fun. I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it somehow. I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, I mean, what are you doing? It's been out for a week. Go watch it. I don't know. I'm really disappointed that people generally don't like it. It's got like the second worst audience score on Rotten Tomatoes out of any Marvel film, and that's some bullshit, because I can tell you what, there's some way worse MCU movies than this. So if you didn't like it, give it another chance maybe. Look at it as a film, not a Marvel film. Marvel films suck. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Like, a lot of them, particularly nowadays, are just getting dragged down by the weight of, it needs to build the entire story, and I'm like, I like how this one is an individual, single story, similar to the first Doctor Strange movie, where it's very much a Doctor Strange movie, singular. There doesn't need to be more. It's not really contributing to the MCU at large, and that's kind of what I like about this one, is that it doesn't. There's no real, I mean, there are some, but for the most part, it's a self-contained story that I can watch without having to watch all the other Marvel films. And yet also, you're going to get a lot out of this if you watch other Marvel projects, even ones you don't think you need to watch in preparation for. I recommend it. I'm happy I did my entire thing with all the shows and all of everything before, like, Phase 4, because Phase 4 is about to get fucking crazy. Like, they put some people in here I did not expect they were going to put in here. There was one character I was pretty sure was going to be in here, but I did not expect it to be the same actor, and it was awesome. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like how they kind of played around with that a little bit, and it made kind of viewing this one really crappy project Marvel did kind of worth it, so that was kind of cool. But, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, probably. But if you don't, I mean, you haven't seen the movie, or you haven't watched the one really bad project they did. But anyway, I don't know. Hats off to everyone who did the homework and showed up and enjoyed this movie. And if you didn't like this movie, that's fine. I totally get it. But again, I encourage you to watch it with the process being, it's a movie, not it's a Marvel movie. Because that's what I'm going into movies now. I'm not going to watch Thor thinking it's a Marvel movie. I'm going to go to Thor thinking it's a movie with hopes that it is a self-contained Thor movie. I hope the Guardians leave early, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for that one. But so far, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is my favorite Phase 4 project, and I'm going to go ahead and give it an A-. Have you guys seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about it. I had a really good time with it. I really hope other people do. I'm seeing more negative reviews than positive reviews, and that confuses me because it's just a really good movie from a really great director with some mediocre writing, I'll admit. But anyway, check out my other YouTube channel. We got another one up. We're doing films, like short films, and it's really fun. It's called Burnside Boys. I think there's a link in the description below, so look for that. And if not, it'll be featured channels at the bottom of my page, so check that as well. Or you can search Burnside Boys and look for us, but we're not that popular yet. So anyway, go check us out there, and as always, subscribe so you can find your next movie at Robert's Reviews. Bye.